So I just got done watching the Oscars with my mother and my aunt, as I do every year, and long live my streak of getting Best Picture wrong, and many, many other things. But long story short is, while I liked Green Book when I initially saw it, and I imagine it still will hold up as an eminently watchable film, I don't particularly think that this choice in Best Picture is going to hold up very well at all in the coming years. But, I mean, congratulations to all of the winners. I think this is one of the few years since the expansion from five Best Picture nominees to between five and 10, where each one of the Best Picture nominees won something. But I was ultimately happy to see Into the Spider-Verse win Best Animated Feature because the speech about representation and whoa, got a message from a friend. But the important part about I've forgotten how to talk. The important part about representation on screen and how important it is for kids to see themselves represented on screen really struck a chord with me because I think of my youngest nephew who loves Miles Morales because he's just like him. They come from the same background. They have the same mixed heritage, and it felt like a very poignant message. Now, ultimately, I think I took a complete bath on my predictions because I kind of let personal preference blind me to some of the more potentially obvious picks. Like, for instance, the fact that I didn't really find Black Panther's score all that memorable doesn't change the fact that it was still a well-constructed and popular original score, you know? And so I should have predicted it to win there, but I let my passion for If Beale Street Could Talk sort of override whatever better sense I might have had, It's the same thing with production design. I initially had Black Panther, and then I thought, well, the favorite, if they don't win production design, they won't win anything else. And I can't imagine the favorite going home empty-handed. Little did I know that Olivia Colman would win Best Actress, which is something where I kind of liken it to a situation like when Meryl Streep won her third Oscar and Viola Davis lost for The Help, where I was happy for the winner and sad for the loser, but also realizing that it's not really like you're a loser. Like, how are you a loser if you've been nominated for an Oscar? But, well, unless you're Harvey Weinstein. But at the end of the day, I am really happy that Olivia Colman won. And I'm sure there are a lot of things that I'm completely forgetting to think about. They went really overboard this year with the predictive presenters, where they tried to have the people presenting the awards have some sort of tie to the people who would end up winning them. And in some cases, it's really worked out, like when Samuel L. Jackson was able to present Spike Lee his first Oscar, well, his first competitive Oscar. But other times it was just sort of awkward, like when Samuel L. Jackson had to pronounce the name Nick Vallelonga. And, I imagine that would have been a problem for a lot of people. But when you consider that it's Green Book and Black Klansman are on two opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to how they were received and how their messages were received and how their approach to race relations was received, it just made for this weird, I suppose, imbalance. But then I guess that's more, I don't know if the term is virtue signaling, but it's kind of making mountains out of molehills, I think, because ultimately these are movie awards. And as much as I have always loved and respected the Oscars, I don't think it's something that people should necessarily get up in arms about. For all that I think about Green Book and its potential to hold up in the years to come, I'm not necessarily sure that, if people were voting for what they liked, you like what you like. And in the closed door and the silence of your own room, you mark whatever you feel like on your ballot. Now, there's any number of conspiracy theories that can go in about people being like paid off or glad-handed or any of these sorts of things that, imply that Oscars are bought. And, for all I know, maybe they are. Who really knows? I just don't like being that cynical about things. I know the Academy Awards has never been a meritocracy. It's always been about a million other things that go into the awards season circuit, about, playing the game, I suppose. But also there is merit to it. It's the Academy Award of Merit in the name. Now, does that always hold up to the standards of what wins? No, but no, I defy you to show me one award or prize that doesn't involve, physical athleticism or some other, objective process, and show me who gets it right 100% of the time. That's not really the case. And I felt like for the most part, the Academy got it right tonight. I mean, I'm utterly baffled that Bohemian Rhapsody won film editing. Like, I just don't get that at all. But I also kind of get it because best editing also often means most editing. And there was a lot of it, like extravagant editing. But also I could kind of see it if, your last impression of the film was the Live Aid sequence. And my glasses are getting really meh. I thought the performance of Shallow was an all-time great Oscar moment, and I loved seeing Lady Gaga win for Best Original Song. It was the most predictable Oscar outcome of all time, but predictable doesn't always mean bad. And, I do hope Bradley Cooper eventually wins something, and I'm sure he will, but I could kind of get why he didn't win here, just because he was kind of overshadowed by some of the bigger narratives of the award season, even though you can make the argument that, well, Rami Malek really embodied Freddie Mercury, but it's also like Bradley Cooper sort of created a character out of whole cloth and learned how to sing, and, he also directed and produced and wrote, and it seems strange, but for whatever reason, it felt like Bradley Cooper never really had the same award season heat. But I will say that Rami Malek was the best part of Bohemian Rhapsody, and he absolutely deserved his Oscar. So I can't really fault the Academy for rewarding him, and what a classy acceptance speech, too. I mean, still, it's not as great as Olivia Colman's acceptance speech, or even some of the acceptance speech in the tech categories. Like, I'm so glad that, documentary short and live action short and animated short and all of those categories didn't get bumped to the commercial like they were planned to, because they gave us some great Oscar moments, from the women accepting for period end of sentence, thanking the Academy for rewarding a film about menstruation. It's one of those moments that you would have completely missed out on if the ceremony had to be edited down for time. And the big takeaway from all this for me is that I didn't miss not having a host at all. Or it's like, or I didn't, let me rephrase. I did not miss having a host at all. See, I'm not editing any of these. I'm just going stream of consciousness. But I didn't want to go live because on the off chance that there would be people who wanted questions answered, because there are some things that I just can't answer. Like how, again, it's a crapshoot every year with the Oscars. You never know. But this ceremony really flew by for me. Like, they're obsessed with getting the Oscars shorter and shorter every year. But for me, it just seems to really fly by. I mean, it felt like an hour ago since Regina King won. And I am kind of surprised that we're already at the end of it. But hopefully you've enjoyed following Oscar season with me. And, well, I mean, if not, you probably haven't been watching these videos, but, yeah. Thank you for doing this with me. Have a good night, everyone.